tied to the countdown to the 2027 Invictus Games. The Duke of Sussex has not seen his father in person so far this year, and any
A recent video about the charity gamble, the crisis charity PRBS. You know, you're in trouble, you do.
Have had two brief meetings in recent years, but the olive branch could see them both on stage in Birmingham. A source.
A return to the UK for Prince Harry and Meghan for the Invictus Games, some of the preview games this year. Do you think that?
Oh, but the frustrating thing at times for the Invictus game organisers is when she appears, she overshadows everything else.
From the Invictus Games, but I ain't buying it. A lot of veterans are upset, and we need to discuss.
Prince Harry has put his father, King Charles, in a lose-lose scenario when it comes to the Invictus Games and his security.
Invictus doesn't pay for anything, for squat. What is happening? Am I missing something here? What the heck, Harry?
So right now, she plays a sexy yet serious Rachel Zane on USA's hit legal drama Suits, and one of my favorite shows. So right now, she plays a sexy yet serious Rachel Zane on USA's hit legal drama Suits, and one of my favorite shows.
As the countdown to the 2027 Invictus Games intensifies, there's a striking void. The Duke of Sussex hasn't had a face-to-face moment with his father all year. Despite the high-profile nature of the event, and Prince Harry's role in it, a cloud of confusion and tension hangs over everything. The games, which are supposed to be a celebration of courage and recovery, are now wrapped in whispers about financial chaos and commitment issues. People are genuinely puzzled what's going on behind the scenes. Is Harry stepping away, or is someone else pulling the strings? Prince Harry is expected to be there, front and center, but the situation feels anything but straightforward. Rumors swirl about money not being adequately managed, and questions loom large about who's footing the bill. When it comes to King Charles, it's clear that Harry occupies a uniquely tender place in his heart. Despite everything,
bad news for Harry's Invictus operation had landed inside the same news cycle. The first one,
which has been a major sponsor of the Invictus Games in Canada, has pulled out. And they're not going
and Prince Harry are going to be over there. There's a lot of shoddy stuff going on with the Invictus Games right now. People don't know where the finance.
Invictus Games has become a scam. This is according to an interview that Tom Sykes did with someone.
Prince Harry has just got dumped. Again, losing another Invictus sponsor in a shocking
Relationship with other veterans? I don't know why anybody should be paying for your stupid. If you are going to make it...
It's not good. This is not good. Womp womp. The
competitor count of the operating files is 543 veterans.
the king is hoping to extend grace and seek healing. He longs to reconnect not just with his son, but also to be present in his grandson's life. Yet, trust, the vital ingredient for any meaningful relationship, appears shattered. Without it, nothing solid can be built. No visit, no conversation, no genuine reconciliation. What many believed was a turning point in their relationship has turned out to be more of a one-sided narrative, spun for an eager public, hungry for hope. Behind the palace walls, seasoned with centuries of royal dramas, they watched and quietly waited for the story to lose its steam. Meanwhile, the tensions simmer into something fiercer than just anger or frustration. Those closest to Prince William describe a silence so intense that Harry's name barely escapes conversation in his presence. It's a complicated web of emotions where old wounds linger.
So King Charles, because I think Prince Harry is his soft spot, he's still gonna give him grace.
To reconcile with Harry, he doesn't want this to be overshadowing his reign.
Charles does face a problem.
And the path forward feels clouded and uncertain. It's important to understand this not as a dramatic exaggeration, but as a genuine, lived experience, a real, practical reality that those close to William encounter every single day. When confronted about it, William's reaction defies what you might expect from someone consumed by bitterness or frustration. Instead of anger, he exhibits a striking calmness. He explains that he doesn't feel angry because, in his mind, Harry has become almost irrelevant, a non-person, so far removed from what William considers worth engaging with that even feeling anger would be a waste of precious energy. This isn't just intense frustration or a level 10 on the emotional scale. It's something beyond measurement. something outside the typical human range of emotion. And then there's the moment of the football match, a rare, almost poetic window into William's true state of mind. For the first time in a long while, he appeared genuinely relaxed. He laughed freely.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from the British royal family are being erased, and this is far more
Now, Harry and William, there's been a bit of speculation. Will they patch things up? Will they not? Of course, after years of tension between the royal brothers.
Was effortlessly present and seemed to belong to the moment in a way that felt natural, unguarded, and deeply grounded. It was a kind of peace that comes from not having set everything ablaze in anger or resentment, an ease that radiated from being fully connected to something much larger than oneself. Sources close to the situation say that Harry witnessed this too, and it's believed that what stirred within him wasn't just jealousy, but something far more piercing and profound. It was the sharp realization of what had been surrendered, not the abstract idea of an institution, but the tangible, irreplaceable experience of belonging to something enduring, something that existed before either of them and would continue long after. William, according to every reliable account, isn't anxiously waiting by the phone or holding on to some hope of reconciliation. There's no open door, no unfinished chapter. He has simply moved forward steadily, clearly, and without looking back. Moving forward with intention, truly living in the present without constantly glancing back, that's a challenge many face. But for Harry, it might just be the toughest hurdle of all. Whenever the idea of reconciliation comes up, it's never simple or unconditional. Instead, it's always accompanied by a set of specific terms, a kind of fine print that changes everything. Harry's openness to reconnect, to show up at family gatherings, and to mend bridges doesn't come freely. It's always wrapped in certain prerequisites with a very familiar name, Meghan. Her involvement is never just a casual detail. It shapes every invitation, every proposed interaction. The questions aren't just about whether Harry will appear, but about Meghan's presence.
I would be very cautious. Meghan Markle, she's probably going to be wearing a wire. She's probably going to have like 15 different recording devices up.
The king's had enough. He has finally decided to distance himself from these
The boundaries around her participation, who else will be present, and what kind of access the palace will have moving forward. This means the royal family isn't simply being extended an olive branch. Instead, they're being handed a binding agreement, a set of demands shaped by someone whom insiders say is no longer welcome within their circle. This description comes directly from sources close to the palace, people who observe every move behind the scenes and whose words carry weight and context. It sets the tone for every attempt at reconciliation, a delicate, complicated arrangement built on specific conditions rather than mutual goodwill. You can't miss the challenge here. The very foundation of these discussions is fraught with tension and distrust. Meanwhile, away from the public eye and the polished narratives, life behind the walls of Montecito tells a different story. Sources reveal that things aren't as stable as the carefully crafted picture Meghan and Harry have presented to the world. In fact, insiders suggest Meghan is under immense pressure, struggling to find her footing.
Was that the royal family, the institution, it's a very, very different beast to being a celebrity or thinking
about the legal security challenges that are preventing him from reconciling with his estranged dad, King Charles.
The ambitious projects she hoped would mark her as a formidable, independent force in the world haven't quite hit their target. The brand she aimed to establish as vibrant and influential hasn't landed in the way she envisioned. It's a reminder that even with fame and wealth, personal and professional aspirations can face serious obstacles. The reality unfolded very differently than she had imagined. The Grand Palace, the very institution she once believed would eventually circle back to her, hasn't reached out, not in the warm, welcoming way she might have hoped. Instead, something far more painful has happened. The palace has quietly stopped thinking about her altogether. According to numerous insiders, the royal family no longer invests emotional energy in her, not out of lingering pain or unresolved conflict, but in the cold, definitive way people do when they've truly closed a chapter and moved on. The king, it seems, still clings to a fragile hope of reconnecting with Harry, although even that hope has been fading, thinning with each passing day. As for Meghan, any conversation about her simply doesn't exist within the walls of that family anymore. It's a subject they seem determined to avoid entirely. Caught in the middle of this emotional standoff,
have had 2 brief meetings in recent years, but the olive branch could see them both on stage in Birmingham.
No, I will always be part of the royal family, and I'm here working and doing the very thing that I was born to do.
They certainly make some quite major PR errors, especially the most recent one.
Harry faces an impossible dilemma. He won't return without Meghan standing by his side, unwavering and resolute. But Meghan has made it clear that if she's to come back, her terms must be respected terms the family is simply unwilling to meet. So the cycle repeats itself. A brief spark of hope flickers in the media spotlight. Conditions are laid out, the palace declines with no official comment, and the story races forward as if a resolution is imminent. But this isn't a negotiation. It's an unending loop, a hoop that Harry and Meghan are trapped within. This part of the narrative is the most painful, the part that's often brushed aside in favor of the more dramatic headlines. But beyond the headlines and public disputes, a far more delicate and heartbreaking reality quietly unfolds, one that rarely gets spoken about. At the heart of this ongoing struggle are 2 children, caught in the crossfire of fractured relationships and silent distance. Their experience is playing out quietly, away from the cameras and public attention, a story that remains largely untold but deeply felt. Without any official announcement or fanfare, this quiet shift might just be the most meaningful development in the entire saga. Archie and Lilibet, Harry's own children, are, by bloodline, direct descendants of the king. They hold their titles on paper. They are firmly placed in the line of succession. On official documents, their names are linked to one of the world's most recognizable and historic institutions. Yet, that connection that should feel tangible and alive seems to be slipping further away each day. There's a growing chasm between the written record and the lived reality, and with every month that passes, that divide only widens. William's children, in stark contrast, live fully embedded within the royal world. They exist in the public eye, seen at official ceremonies, participating in events that mark national milestones, and being carefully groomed to step into roles that have been shaped by generations before them. Their place in the monarchy isn't just a title, it's a life lived in the spotlight, built on consistency and presence, being seen, being involved. This is how they are woven into the fabric of this centuries-old institution, and it feels as natural as breathing. Meanwhile, Harry's children dwell thousands of miles away in California, their appearances limited to meticulously controlled social media moments, images hand-picked for public consumption. Their connection to the royal establishment feels increasingly theoretical, almost symbolic rather than real. Every year that passes without genuine engagement widens this gap, creating a rift that no single visit or well-timed public appearance could possibly mend. The distance between these 2 worlds feels almost insurmountable. Looking ahead, even the possibility of a visit this July remains uncertain. Whether Harry will arrive with Meghan and their children is yet to be fully decided, influenced in part by the ongoing debate over police protection granted by the Home Office, a sensitive issue that could ultimately determine if and how the family reunites on British soil. The situation remains unresolved, with no clear outcome in sight. Buckingham Palace has chosen to stay silent, and often, silence speaks louder than words. Archie and Lilibet never had a say in these circumstances. From the very beginning, they were born into a world shaped entirely by decisions made long before they could grasp what was happening around them. For their cousins, the royal institution is a living, breathing foundation, an identity, a responsibility, and a legacy that will continue to support and elevate them throughout their lives. But for Archie and Lilibet, the palace is slowly turning into a distant story, something you hear about but don't actually belong to. It's important to understand no one officially stripped these children of titles or privileges. Instead, what we're witnessing now is the inevitable fallout of a long chain of choices that, over time, have led to this separation. It's like the moment when a relationship fractures beyond repair, and the question doesn't even revolve around fixing what's broken anymore. It shifts to something more immediate, more raw, whether the people involved can even share the same space without tension or mistrust. That's exactly where the palace stands right now. That's where the relationship with Harry has been for quite some time. Reliable insiders and those who know the inner workings have made it clear. The breakdown of trust isn't half measure, it's total and all-encompassing. Harry is viewed not just with skepticism, but as entirely untrustworthy by both the institution itself and the close-knit family members who operate within it. And the real impact of this profound loss of trust is far more practical than many realize, affecting how interactions, decisions, and futures are shaped behind closed doors. It's almost hard to say out loud, but no one is ever truly alone when Harry is around. You don't just walk into a room with him without someone else present, never, because anyone's worried about a clash or argument. No, it's something far more calculated. Any private moment with Harry is like a ticking time bomb, a chance for that unguarded interaction to become immortalized, whether in a tell-all book, a groundbreaking documentary, a revealing interview, or a carefully leaked story timed just right to make headlines. He understands the power of the moment, and others do too, which is why there's always a witness. Even the most intimate family gatherings, think about his grandmother, Prince Philip, or William and Catherine, are caught up in this whirlwind. Catherine was managing a deeply personal battle with cancer, even as the relentless machinery of the media frenzy around Harry and Meghan kept grinding without pause. What might have been private family moments slipped away, absorbed by the glare of public interest. Being part of the royal family, with all its strict protocols and traditions, is a completely different experience than simply being a celebrity or public figure. There's an entire system and set of expectations that shape what can and cannot be shared. Over the past few years, I've only had a couple of brief meetings with Harry. Even then, there was a tangible sense of this hidden tension. You could feel how different it was for him once he stepped away from the royal institution, the very system that gave him his identity and platform, and all the formal weight that came with it. He's now on a journey to define what the Harry brand truly looks like on its own, without the royal backdrop, without that official connection. It's a new, uncharted territory. Interestingly, there remains one quiet, almost invisible thread linking Harry and Meghan back to the palace. It might seem small, a detail so subtle you could easily miss it, but in royal circles, where every gesture and word is carefully crafted with meaning, it carries immense significance. Even after the explosive Oprah interview and while Prince Philip was in the hospital, even after the Netflix documentary that peeled back the layers of their story, Harry and Meghan's names still linger on the official palace website. It's a silent message, a hint that some ties can't be entirely severed, no matter how much they try to distance themselves. This tiny digital echo says far more than any public statement ever could. Following the intense fallout from Spare, after the wave of legal battles launched against the Crown, and after years of bold statements, meticulously timed leaks, and a relentless push to air the family's private struggles on a worldwide stage, their names still linger in the official records of the very institution they chose to step away from, challenged through lawsuits, and repeatedly used as a backdrop to tell their own story. It's almost paradoxical these names remain etched in the archives of an institution they've distanced themselves from, yet their presence there speaks volumes. The palace itself has offered no explanation for this continued inclusion, and curiously, this silence acts as an answer in its own right. There's no dramatic reveal, no headline-grabbing press conference. The lingering presence of this formality exists simply because institutions like this often move at a deliberate, unhurried pace, driven less by emotion and more by long-standing protocol. But mark this final thread tethering their names to the institution will eventually be severed. It won't happen with fanfare or flourish. There should be no expectation of a polished announcement, crafted to ignite a fresh wave of media frenzy. No, it will unfold just as quietly as these matters typically do within age-old institutions, silently, behind closed doors, with all the subtlety of a process that's been quietly reaching its conclusion for years. It will feel less like a landmark decision and more like the natural conclusion of a chapter that closed long ago. When that moment finally comes, it won't require any formal shaming or formal statement. People will simply take note. Journalists will report the change, headlines will flicker briefly across screens, and then the world will move on. Because, in truth, the narrative moved on a long time ago. For a long time, the story of Harry and Meghan quietly unfolded, without the explosive headlines or chaotic drama that many expected. Their presence in the official narrative lasted longer than most imagined, a steady, almost understated chapter in a saga filled with historic weight. But now, that chapter is drawing to a close. It's not about punishment or judgment, nor is it a dramatic final curtain call. It's simply that the gap between what those two names stand for on paper and what they actually mean in real life has widened so much that no formal title or protocol can mend the divide anymore. Harry stepped away because he longed for freedom, a chance to live life on his own terms, away from the suffocating expectations of tradition. And in that, he found exactly what he was searching for. Meghan, too, had her ambitions, dreams of creating something authentic and self-directed, carving out her own path beyond the spotlight she was thrust into. Yet, as she navigates these new waters, she's faced the harsh realities of pursuing projects that haven't exactly flourished as hoped, projects that carry the weight of high expectations and public scrutiny. Meanwhile, their children grow up in sunny California, worlds apart from the castle walls and centuries of history that shaped their father and that shaped a whole generation before him. They live without the daily reminders of legacy and duty, in a place far removed from the royal heartbeat of Windsor or Kensington. There, in those quieter corners where the working family carries on without fuss or fanfare, life moves forward much as it always has. It's not about rivalry or proving a point. It's simply the steady unfolding of days, of purpose, of duty continuing in its own way. And through it all, the king's love for his son remains clear and undisputed, something acknowledged by every observer. But love and trust, while both precious, are not interchangeable. Love may endure quietly in the background, but the trust, a fragile bond much harder to restore, has been broken in a way no public statement or hopeful message can easily repair. This is a story of evolving ties, complex emotions, and a future that no longer fits inside the pages of the past. Over time, the story has quietly passed through the hands of a sympathetic journalist, and William has clearly moved forward with his life no longer tethered to the past shadows that once loomed large. The institution itself, too, has turned a new page, reshaping its path. Across the nation, the British public, steadfast and perceptive, has also moved beyond the turmoil, understanding that time changes perspective and priorities. What lingers now is the undeniable imprint of countless decisions made over the years, decisions whose ripple effects have finally settled into a form that feels both inevitable and unalterable. A palace website quietly holds the names that will eventually fade from view, becoming mere historical footnotes. 2 children remain, their ties to the institution growing more symbolic than real with each passing year, existing more in tradition than in day-to-day reality. Meanwhile, a charity faces increasing questions and scrutiny, grappling with the weight of public accountability. And there's a book, an account written and now impossible to erase, a testament to revelations that have irrevocably shaped public narrative. This family hasn't just shut a door behind them. They've stepped away from it entirely, moving on without glancing back. Some departures simply cannot be undone from the outside. That's not harshness or bitterness. It's the clear picture of a final decision made where those with the power to reopen that door collectively agree there's nothing on the other side worth the effort. That's reality, plain and simple. If this video has helped you understand the story beyond the sensational headlines, giving you the full, nuanced picture, then do yourself a favor. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Share this with friends who are still caught up in the reconciliation rumors or who believe the story is something it's not. The story of Invictus, Harry's last significant legacy, is far from over. There are deeper questions about finances, leadership, and what the future holds for this once promising chapter. Our upcoming video will dive into every detail. Make sure you're here for it. This is far from the ending, it's just another beginning.